And today's topic is breastfeeding and back to work. And today's call will cover tips to help prepare you for a positive transition back to work while also being able to meet your breastfeeding goals. Um, this is a magical time when you have your baby, and yes, the reality is most of us do return back to work. And so we have some great tips for you here today. I do have a few housekeeping items. It looks like most of us are already in the chat, but please keep your questions and your feedback to the chat because it's hard to check the Q&A and the chat. So we want to stay right here where we are now. As Emily mentioned, this call will be recorded and you will receive the recording in next week. And also, and this is a good one, we do have a giveaway for today, and the giveaway is right on time to help prepare you to transition back to work. Up, there's a sneak peek. That's it. The portable breast milk cooler for outdoors. And this thing is really nice.
I actually have it because you all sent it to me and I'm obsessed with it.
Mom's is so nice and it's big and it's just convenient. And it's like, why didn't they have this
It has ice packs in
8 years
it
ago, 11 years ago when I had my kids? And it's
too.
so, and then the thing that I love about the cooler is the color is so cute. It's really, really cute. It's really
I mean,
trendy.
I wish I had this because I used to go to work and pump and forget to bring something to put my milk in all the time. It was ridiculous. So,
Can we go back
oh my
one
gosh.
to the mom cozy? I think it's number two.
Oh yeah, I can go back for you. Yep.
Thank you. I kind of got ahead of myself because I was so excited about
That's
the
okay. It
cooler.
is so excited. It always gives me
So, hey
hope.
everyone, I'm Sonia from Mom Cozy. We've been around since 2018, started as a pumping nursing bra company. Since then, we've grown into a global company serving over 4 million moms with more than 200 thoughtfully designed products for mom and baby. So, thank you for joining us. Our Facebook, please take a moment, scan the QR code, and join our Facebook community. This is a great place to meet moms, to share, ask advice, and share peer-to-peer encouragement and just feedback, and just come on in and join your village.
Great.
And here we go.
Are we
Emily.
ready?
Yes, we're
Before I
ready.
dive in, I see a lot in the chat, so quick housekeeping. NAPS does send the recording out on the Monday after this, once Mom Cozy gets it to us. So if you did miss previous classes, what I can do is I can include all of the recordings to date in next week's email. And if you do not receive that email, please then let us know so we can make sure we're not hidden in your spam or your trash or something like that. And you can get support at hello@nurturebynaps.com if you are finding that you're still not getting the email as of next week. Okay, so let's do this. My name is Emily Silver. I am a family nurse practitioner. I'm a former labor and delivery nurse. I worked for many years on labor and delivery in Boston, delivering babies on the night shift. When I became an NP, I went on to work in an OBGYN office, taking care of women who were pregnant and postpartum. And now today I take care of tons of women and families through my company, NAPS. We're located here in Boston, but we see patients all over the country and, quite frankly, even out of the country through our telehealth. And everyone here at NAPS is a registered nurse or a nurse practitioner or a true medical provider. So we have a doctor of pelvic floor physical therapy in our platform, a doctor of occupational therapy. We found that in the maternity postpartum space, like parents had to piecemeal everything together. Like I have to go here for classes, but here for feeding support, but that person for sleep, and my pediatrician for this, and this person, like this person for that. And so we brought everybody into one place, our platform Nurture by Naps. That way you can get content, classes, webinars like this. We also have an Ask a Nurse board. You can post a question to us anytime, 2 in the morning, and one of us will answer you. It's a real person, not a bot. One of us will answer you within 24 hours. So I'll give you more access to us at the end of this webinar. But what I want you to know is, as a team of certified medical professionals, our job at NAPS here is to help parents navigate your options, right? So when I work with parents, and today we're talking about pumping and going back to work, I don't really tell you what to do and why and how to do it. I'm like, what would feel good for you? Like, what are your options? Let's look at risk benefit, pros, cons. What do we know through research? What do we not know through research? Like, what are the things that you need to know so that you can then make the decision that feels best for your family? So, we're always going to come at it from that angle. We're moms just like you, parents just like you. I have 3 kids. They are 10, 8, and 3. And all of my feeding journeys look different too. But we always want to just give you like real and judgment free advice. And I hope you'll feel that warmth and that energy from me today. So we're gonna get right to it. Now, the first part of this class is really like logistical, tactical type things for pumping and going back to work. And then I'm gonna like throw you for a fun curveball at the end and talk about some out of the box topics that I bet no one else is talking to you about. So how do you use a pump? We talked a little bit about this last week, but I'm going to repeat some of it today to really seal the deal. I want you to obviously understand how to use a pump. If you're here today and you're joining in and you're expecting and you're having trouble picking a pump, we do have in-person and telehealth visits, so you can book those through your insurance usually, and we can help you like navigate how to pick a pump and why. But there's just obviously a lot of brands, a lot of bells and whistles, but largely speaking, pumps share in the most similar features and functions. And so the purpose of the pump is to mimic your baby, to replace feeds, or to stimulate your breast tissue. And so, one thing I'll share about pumps that parents usually don't know about or understand is when you breastfeed a baby. Okay, let me get myself situated here to breastfeed. I got my breastfeeding pillow here. When I breastfeed a baby, okay, what they do naturally is when they first go to latch the breast, they're frantic. I call them little gremlins. They're like, they're suck, 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 suck. They want the milk, right? And so they do a more shallow, frantic sucking to get your letdown, to get the milk to flow from your breast into their mouth. Once milk is flowing, they slow down and they do more of a like a slow long pull. Okay, so frantic, 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 short, shallow, like latching, and then a longer, slower pull. And so what's super cool is when you use your pumps and you play around with the settings on them. All pumps have usually a way that you can stimulate the letdown. So if you are pumping to replace a feed, you want to use your letdown button first, and that's the bzz, 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 the quickie one. And then once milk is flowing or dripping, you can turn it off or turn it over or hit a button, or automatically it switches over on many pumps too. And now it's bzz, bzz, slow, long pull. Okay. And you want to pump for the duration on that setting because it's more comfortable and it's mimicking your baby. Now, some women towards the end of their pumping session can hit the button again or put on that letdown again bzz, 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 and simulate a second letdown. Not everyone can do that, but some women can. So you can play around with it. But I want you to think about your pump and learn how to use it, because when you're going back to work or you're on the go, you got to pack a lot of stuff to bring with you. And so let me tell you the things that I always forgot to pack as a working mom of 3, because I running around with a chicken with my head cut off. You want to make sure you have your power source. Okay, so pumps need to get plugged in and charged up. Now, some pumps you can plug them in and charge them and then take them on the go. So see a Spectra here, this blue one, I can plug that in and charge it, and then I can take it on the go, versus this Medela here, I'm going to plug it in and it needs to be plugged in. Our hands-free pumps are cool because you can charge them up. Let's put them right into your regular cord here, and now they're hands-free and on the go. But as you're packing your pump bag, learning how to use your pump, you're looking for your power source, potentially tubing if you're not using a hands-free pump. So some pump is going to come with tubing. Now, tubing is just for suction, air and suction. Milk isn't going in here, so you're going to keep these clean and dry. You don't want to wash or boil or steam these because then they might not have as good suction anymore. Tubing, okay? And then you're going to see on your pumps that they come with lots of little bits and pieces, right? We have flanges, valves, different pieces here. And so we're going to get to know your pump and see what it's coming with. When we start to take them apart, you're going to see sort of these valves, collection cups that we can wash and clean, sometimes soft, squishy silicone valves that come with them. So you want to get to know all the bits and the pieces. And then sometimes we're using cushions like this to help with the sizing of your pump, which we're going to talk about how to size yourself. So what are the extra pieces? In terms of features, one thing that's super important is to work with a lactation consultant, and I'll give you the NAPS resource at the end so you can see if you're in insurance and have a free visit. I love to meet with women when they're pregnant to help them pick their pump, learn how to use it, size your flange. So that way, once baby is here, if you had to pump for a particular reason, it's not as scary or intimidating or stressful because you've dabbled in it a little bit. I do always teach partners how to set up pumps and clean them as well, which we talked about in last week's webinar. So let's talk about sizing your flange. When you're pumping, it's going to go against your breast and your nipple is going to go in to a flange. I'm going to use a clear flange right now just to help for teaching purposes. All right, so when you're pumping, we do want to make sure you have the right size flange, okay, so that you don't have nipple trauma, pain with pumping, or an impact on your milk supply. So if you're wearing a flange that's too small or too big, that can impact your milk supply. So what I like to do too when women are pregnant or when I'm working with them postpartum is size them for their flange. So there's different tools. I use this one, and all of the NAPS nurses carry these in their pump bags. It's like a silicone chart. And so what you're going to do is next time you get out of the shower or when you pull down your bra, you're going to use these little holes and you're going to place them over your nipple until you find the one that fits best. And we're looking for one that your nipple fits into, including the base of your nipple. All right. And so, where'd it go? Here it is. When you're pumping, the idea is that as your nipple pulls into this tunnel, I don't want the nipple rubbing or chafing or getting stuck. It's going to cause friction or breakdown. That's too tight, too small. And I also don't want areola or breast tissue pulling into this tunnel. Then it's too big. Okay. And so when you size yourself, it's a little tricky because the number that you get, your size of your nipple and that base isn't equal to the flange. So then you're going to go back to your pump part and say, what size flange do I need based on my pump? So if you measure, your nipple and you get 21 millimeters, right? Okay. Now I'm going to look at a flange size 27 because that's going to fit nipples up to 23. If I measure it at a 19 or a 20, I'm looking at a 24. If I measure smaller, okay, and my nipple's like 16 or 17, I might need a 21. What I really love and appreciate generally about the Mom Cozy brand is that they give you options. So some pumps only come with 2 flanges, and they're often a 24 and a 28, and one size doesn't fit all. Mom Cozy's pump, in the packaging, they put several cushions, okay, so that you can measure yourself. And once you figure out your size, the cushion fits beautifully into the pump. So now not only is it going to be sized perfectly for you, it's a really nice soft cushion for pumping. In here or in a regular flange, you can also put lanolin cream, okay, to lubricate it, to make it nice and smooth for when you're pumping. If you are having pain with pumping, or you're having trouble sizing yourself, like you've tried different sizes and different flanges and you're still uncomfortable or you're still struggling with using your pumper supply, please reach out to us or a lactation consultant because again, not one size fits all. And sometimes we're going to get real creative to help you figure out what's going to fit you best because you should not have pain with pumping. Pain might be common, but it's not normal when it comes to breastfeeding and pumping. You deserve to be comfortable when you're breastfeeding and pumping. Okay, so when should you pump? Like when everybody asks me, when am I going to pump? Like, what's the deal with that? It's sitting in the box. I learned how to clean it. I set it up. I know how to use it, but like, when should I pump? Everybody's journey will look different. Okay, so some of my moms have to pump right out of the gates. Maybe their baby's in the NICU, or their milk isn't in yet, or their baby has low blood sugar and they need to supplement and now they're pumping. So, for all intents and purposes, in this moment right now, let's assume that breastfeeding is going really well and you're home from the hospital and you're going with your breastfeeding and you're thinking, I feel ready to dabble in some pumping. I just want to like play around with it. I want to make some milk. All right. That could be whenever you're ready. Maybe it's 2 to 4 weeks out after delivery. Could be a little sooner, could be a little later. I do feel like most of my moms are interested in playing around with their pump somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks out of delivery, if, like I said, all things are going well. Um, so this workshop is really specifically thinking about physical separation from your baby, like you're going back to work or you're going to a wedding or you are going to be away from your baby. And so you're thinking like, I do want to do some pumping to freeze and store some milk so that my baby can have food when we're physically separated, right? And so for that purpose, if women come to me and say, I want to pump and start saving milk, I feel like a great time to pump is usually in the morning. Now, most women get the most bang for their buck in the morning. You wake up in the morning, right? Like you get up, start to brew the coffee, the sun's coming up, and many women tell me that's when they feel the fullest and when they have the most supply. And then they breastfeed or they're pumping throughout the day. Some women feel like supply is a little lower in the evening, but it's still enough. It can change in composition. And then overnight, when you sleep, you synthesize prolactin. So your body's like, oh, let's boost up, let's regenerate milk again for the next day. So if you're looking to just pump to save milk and bag it, store it, or freeze it in the morning, get up. All right. And I don't think 4 or 5 is the morning. That's still the middle of the night for me. When the coffee is brewing and the sun is up, you can get up in the morning and you can breastfeed your baby. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to breastfeed. I'm going to offer both sides. And then when I'm done, I'm going to snuggle that baby up in a swaddle and put them down somewhere safe, or I'm going to hand them to my partner so that I can then get my pump out, all right, and pump both breasts at the same time. I have another one of these because there's two. I'm going to pump both breasts at the same time after feeding, and whatever I get, I am going to put it in a bottle or a bag in the fridge or the freezer, and I'm going to save it. Okay? Everyone always asks me, what's normal? How much should I pump? You're all going to get something different when you pump after breastfeeding. And that's okay. There's no right or wrong here. Some of you might only get an ounce. Some of you might get several ounces. Some of you might have an oversupply and you get too many ounces, right? But you breastfeed, put the baby down, pump both breasts, call it for 10 to 15 minutes. Whatever you get, we'll put it in the fridge or the freezer and we'll store it. When you're freezing breast milk, I do recommend freezing it in different increments, various increments, like 2s and 3s and 4s, or 4s and 5s and 6s. Just simply because when you get down the line, several months out, or your baby's getting older, right? 5 or 6 months and beyond, they're going to start to potentially space feeds and take in more volume than they were as a baby newborn. And so when you're pulling milk out of the freezer to prepare bottles for caregivers, it can be helpful to have a 4-ounce bag and a 2-ounce bag so you can make their 6-ounce bottle. Okay? Don't get too hung up on this. Like, you're never going to waste breast milk. We're going to make sure you're savvy about it. And once you pull your breast milk out and defrost it, you want to use it within 24 hours. So if you had a little left over from a frozen bag, we'll find a way to use it in that 24-hour period. You do want to always use your oldest breast milk first before the fresh milk when possible, and that's just simply to avoid waste. And so when you're freezing that breast milk, if you put it into a bag, I don't have a bag handy, but a breast milk bag, what you want to do is date it and write how many ounces is in the bag, because breast milk expands when it's frozen. So if you froze 2 ounces today and in a month go grab it, it's going to look like 4 ounces. So I think it's helpful to know on the bag what's in it so that when you defrost it and make your baby's bottle, you're not shortchanged and you're like, oh my God, I'm short 2 ounces. So date it, label it with how many ounces so that you know what you're pulling out. So let's just talk a little bit about like maintaining and increasing milk supply as a pumping mom or when you are adding in pumping. Um, if you are breastfeeding exclusively and then maybe you're now adding in some pumping along the way, breastfeeding is very supply and demand. All right. And so you make milk when you're pregnant, when the baby is born, hormones surge in pregnancy, which causes milk production, and then they drastically drop when you're postpartum, which causes hormones to circulate to make breast milk. And so every time you latch your baby and they're sucking and swallowing, it's telling your brain and your body, someone's here eating, we need to make milk. And your pump is doing that too. I'm putting my pump on and I'm pumping, I'm stimulating. So the brain is like, somebody is here eating. And it becomes supply and demand. Many women come to me and tell me that they make a lot of milk right out of the gates. It can be normal for some women to like overproduce in the beginning, and around 4, 6, 8 weeks out, their supply starts to what we call regulate, and the body's starting to figure out exactly what the baby needs to meet supply and demand. This doesn't happen to everyone. Everyone's experience is different, but some women will come to me 6 to 8 weeks out and say, I feel like my supply is dropping a little bit. And we realize it's not really dropping, it's just sort of exactly now meeting what the baby needs. Versus if I have someone who's working on breastfeeding, they're struggling with breastfeeding, maybe they have a premature baby or a baby with oral ties that's struggling to latch, suck, and swallow, or mom has pain with breastfeeding and she's doing more pumping. We're just looking to find a balance here. If we're ever trying to increase milk supply and make more milk, we're going back to the concept of supply and demand. And so that may mean adding in some pumping in conjunction with breastfeeding to tell your body, I want you to make more hormones to increase my milk supply. And so these are like the very like now specific reasons why we start to say, let's talk and let's see what's going on with you and your body and your milk supply. If you have an oversupply, lactation support can help you regulate it so you're not uncomfortable. If you have an undersupply or a low supply or insufficient glandular tissue that you're really working to keep up, what could we do to like max out your body and maybe increase milk supply? And we're just trying to help everyone find that balance that works for them. And that might be with breastfeeding and pumping. So I always throw in some safe storage of guidelines. I think that this is a really helpful slide to have, which is for our breast milk. This is, and if you're in other countries, this is probably going to look different. But here in the United States, you often see the CDC's guidelines around breast milk storage, which is like this rule of fours that hospitals teach or providers use because it's easy to remember. So, rule of fours that breast milk is good for 4 hours at room temperature, 4 days in the fridge, 4 to 6 months in a freezer. If you have a deep freezer, like that college dorm deep chest, it can stay in there for up to 12 months, which is pretty cool. Once you defrost frozen breast milk, you want to use it within 24 hours. The longer it sits out, it just starts to lose flavor and taste. Now, I said this last week, and I'm going to say it again. We need more research on breast milk, but we do have some research. And in the research that we have that's newer on breast milk, what we've seen in that research is that likely breast milk is much more sturdy and robust than we give it credit for. So in some of these studies, breast milk was left sitting out at extreme temperatures. And when they looked at it later, it did not have an increase in bacterial load or pathogens. Breast milk that was left in the fridge for a little longer than 4 days also did not show a change in composition when we look at bacteria and pathogens. And so that's like the worry when we're thinking about guidelines is we don't want things to grow bacteria and pathogens and then babies get sick because they're yucky, right? The way if I left milk sitting out on the counter all night and I come down in the morning, I'm not going to pour it in my cereal because I'm like, it's yucky now, right? So when we look at breast milk, it's very robust. It's very resilient. It's liquid gold, really, for a reason. And so I encourage you to, yes, look at the guidelines that are out there and read up on some of that research on breast milk because your comfort level and flexibility might be that you are going to give it a little more credit when you're thinking about how and when you're using it. If you're ever not sure about your breast milk before you dump it out or waste it, ask us. We're going to give you all access to our membership platform. We have our Ask a Nurse board at the end of this. You can post questions anytime, but ask us, ask a local lactation consultant, because oftentimes parents are throwing out breast milk when it really was still good. Breast milk is not considered defrosted until the last ice crystal is gone in the bag. So if you come down in the morning and the freezer's ajar, okay, and that milk is like still a little frozen, but it defrosted a little bit, you shut that freezer and you go make your coffee and start your day. Now, I will just comment on formula in case anybody here is breastfeeding, pumping, and formula feeding. Formula, we are going to follow those guidelines more strictly because it's man-made and it can grow bacteria. Breast milk has living cells and antibodies, and we call it liquid gold for a reason. Like, it's very robust. Formula, when you open a can of powdered formula, it's usually good for a month. Once you batch prepare your formula, it can stay in the fridge for 24 hours. So this is actually a breast milk cooler, but for the purpose of teaching really quick, like, you could get a pitcher or a cooler and you can batch prepare formula like lemonade, and now you can easily pour it over the next 24 hours versus prepared formula is good up at room temperature for up to 2 hours. And then once you've started feeding your baby a bottle with formula in it, you want to use it within the hour. Now, I said this at the beginning, I really wish I had this when I was back at work, because you can keep breast milk in a cooler for 24 hours. So if you're back at work and you're pumping throughout your workday, like, you're probably stopping to pump 2 or 3 times. What's super cool about this is it comes with the ice pack. So you're going to get these cold, get your ice packs cold, loud, and you're going to go to work. Throughout the workday, every time you stop to pump and you're done, you can add your milk to these bottles. And once the bottle's full, drop it in, start adding to your next one, drop it in. And now all my breast milk that I pumped all day long at work is being kept cold all day long in my cooler. And when I go home at the end of the night, I can take this milk and I can either make bottles for the next day, or I can bag it and I can freeze it and use it for later. So I think like something handy dandy like this or on the go is great if you're pumping and you're out and about. Okay, let's talk about introducing a bottle, because we're talking about pumping and being back at work. So if you're back at work, you're probably pumping throughout your workday while someone is taking care of your baby somewhere else, daycare, nanny, grandparents, family. So baby's getting a bottle of whatever it is that you left behind. Maybe all of that breast milk that you pumped the day before at work, or maybe breast milk that you just already had frozen. Okay, so the AAP, the American Academy of Pediatrics, states that you can introduce a bottle when good breastfeeding has been established. I really love that recommendation as a provider because it's flexible and it can mean something different for everybody. So I told you all I have 3 kids. All 3 of my girls got a bottle within the first 72 hours of life. That was a choice that I made before my milk came in, and then my milk came in, and I got going with breastfeeding, and then I dabbled in bottles later on in my journey. So, like, everybody's journey will look a little bit different. But for me, I felt good about breastfeeding right away out of the gates. For other women out there, you might feel like you need several days or a week or 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're like, I feel good about breastfeeding. What does good breastfeeding mean? Like, what is establishing good breastfeeding? For me, I think about, okay, my milk has come in. I understand how and when to feed my baby. I'm able to get a deep latch, which we talked about in our first webinar. If you want to go back and rewatch that, like getting that deep latch without pain, and that my baby's sucking and I can hear swallowing, right? So you're just getting more comfortable with the process. Again, everybody's level of comfort is going to be a little bit different. Some of you are going to have to give a bottle right away, and that wasn't part of your plan because maybe your baby's in the NICU and they're working on breathing, or maybe their blood sugar is low or their temperature is low or they've lost too much weight, right? There's so many caveats to this. So you want to make sure you're also connecting with a lactation consultant outside of your pediatrician. but your milk is in, your baby is latching, they're gaining weight, the system is working. Okay, so maybe now you want to introduce the bottle, or you have to introduce the bottle earlier on for the various reasons or those examples I just gave. If you're getting further out and breastfeeding is going well and you haven't introduced the bottle, I would start to get one into the routine. This is a NAPS recommendation, not like an AAP or written anywhere else. In doing this for now over 14 years, it is a recommendation at NAPS that if you haven't introduced a bottle by 4 weeks of age, I would just get one in the routine, whether that's once or twice a week, or 2 or 3 nights a week, or every other day, or once a day, based on whatever you want to do. If you are planning on going back to work or will be having physical separation, because on the swing of things in my breastfeeding work, I also work with babies 2 or 3 months out who are refusing to take a bottle. If you're here listening to this webinar today and you do have an older baby that's refusing to take a bottle, I have excellent resources at NAPS through your insurance where you can work with us for bottle troubles. And we have a really great course on bottle troubles that can help you if you are in that boat. But for all intents and purposes, hopefully we can introduce that bottle and just get them used to it, kind of like keep the playing field even. When it comes to bottle preparation and like the logistics of going back to work, let's make sure baby knows how to take a bottle so they're flexible and we have it in the routine. And then we're going to get into our bottle prep. So if you have frozen breast milk and you're going to work the next day, you can take that frozen milk out of your freezer the night before. Quick sip of water. Take that frozen milk out of your freezer the night before, put it in your fridge, and in the morning it will be defrosted, just like chicken. Or you can grab your frozen bag and you can get like a mug of hot water and you can sit that bag in the hot water in that mug on your counter for like 5-10 minutes and it will defrost. Or if you're in a pinch and you're trying to defrost things quickly, you can take your frozen bag and run it under hot water at your sink to melt it quickly. Or you can take cold breast milk, okay, and you can stick it in a coffee mug of hot water and let it warm up and let it defrost. You can batch prep your breast milk and like prepare bottles for your daycare or your caregivers the next day, at night, the night before, in the morning. So when I was working as a nurse practitioner, I was pumping during my workday, and back at home, my caregiver was giving my daughter 3 bottles. So what I did in the morning was I took my milk that was defrosted that I'd left in the fridge, and I got my 3 bottles out and I lined them up on the counter and I filled them all with breast milk, whatever it was, 4 or 5 ounces, and I put them in the fridge on the side door so that throughout the day, when my nanny needed to give my daughter a bottle, they were ready. Or you can teach your caregivers and your family how to defrost breast milk so that throughout the day, when your baby needs a bottle, they can just pull it and make it themselves as they go. I encourage all of families to teach their caregivers proper breast milk storage guidelines and the defrosting rules. And like I said, breast milk is flexible. So some of my parents will make a bottle of breast milk, 5 ounces, and baby left an ounce behind. And that parent may choose to take that ounce and use it at the next feed so we don't have to waste it. Or they defrost a bag of breast milk and we want to make sure that we're using it up before we pull another bag out and defrost it. And why is that relevant? Just because I don't want you to waste your breast milk. Like, you worked really hard for it, right? Between breastfeeding and pumping and all these things, it's a lot of work, and I just don't want you to waste anything. Let's just talk through a sample schedule when you're leaving bottles and schedules and nap routines for your caregivers when you go back to work. It's hard to make this transition because one, now you're physically separated from your baby and you have been with them this whole time. It feels very unnatural to now like all of a sudden pivot and go back to work, and instead of breastfeeding, you're pumping the replaced feeds. You know your baby really well by now, so you know how to swaddle them, how to get them to fall asleep. You know how to burp them in just the right spot to get the perfect burp, right? You know them so well. Your caregiver needs time to learn their needs, to learn their sounds, and to like figure it out the way you did. So if you're leaving a schedule for a caregiver, my example is always going to be one that offers flexibility, rather than saying she's up at 7, she has to eat by 8, she has to be in her crib by 8:30, she sleeps for 2 hours. All of a sudden, she can eat 4 ounces exactly. Like caregivers get a little like panicky, a little anxious that they have to adhere to this exact schedule. I like to come at it with flexibility so they have time to learn your baby. My baby, I'm going to use Eloise, my third baby, as the example. Eloise wakes up for the day between 6:30 and 7:30. She eats about every 2.5 to 3 hours. When she eats, she takes about 4 to 6 ounces. After eating, she's able to stay awake and be happy for about 1.5 to 2 hours, and then she gets tired. And when you put Eloise down for a nap, she naps anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours. So now I've given my provider, my caregiver, ranges so that they can stay within the routine I'd like them to be in for feeding and awake windows and sleep schedules, but it's giving them a little bit of flexibility to find their way. Okay. When you are starting daycare, and you can tell me in the chat if you're going to be going to a daycare, the biggest stressor that parents come to me with is sleep, because their baby is finally on this beautiful feeding and sleep schedule, and then baby goes to daycare and they take short, not so great naps because it's a new environment. Keep your good sleep at home good. Okay? I don't want you taking your babies out of their swaddles, or I was using this earlier for myself for sleep last night. But if you're using a sound machine with white noise, don't start turning it off because daycare isn't going to have a sound machine. I want to keep sleep good at home. I want good sleep at home to help that daycare baby. So you're going to still swaddle them or put them in their sleep sack, put them in their crib, keep it dark, keep your white noise going for naps and bedtime and sleep, so that when they come home from daycare and they're tired, they can get that good night's sleep and they can get those good naps on the weekend, so we can keep them close to their magic number. Your magic number is the amount of sleep your kiddo needs in 24 hours to be happy. So if they go to daycare and they take short naps, where can we make up for that missed sleep to hit back to that magic number? So we're keeping home and daycare separate, and that's okay. Your baby will learn to sleep in the new environment at daycare and find their way. And in the meantime, I don't want to mess around with anything at home. I want them to get good sleep at home. Which brings me to my supply list. You can screenshot this with your phone right now if you like a list. Like, what do you need as you're preparing to go back to work? You need things for your baby and you need things for yourself. Diapers, wipes, ointments, so like Vaseline, Aquaphor. If your baby has eczema and they have a prescription cream. If it's summer, we need sunscreen, extra clothes. Babies puke or pee on themselves or get messy and they need extra clothes. If you are using a nanny or a place where you can bring a portable sound machine, that's great. I love portable sound machines for travel as well. But if you're doing a nanny share, or you have family coming to the house, or you're bringing your baby somewhere and you can set up their sleep environment, we want to use a pack and play or a crib there with blackout shades if you're using them with your portable sound machine. You're going to need extra bottles, pacifiers, bibs, sippy cups. Your diaper bag is full of lots of things. Then for you, you're going to have your bag. That's going to be your pump bag with your power cord, with your power cord, with your charger, with your tubing, with your flanges, with your bits and pieces. And so when I'm traveling with my mom cozy pump that's hand free, I can just take this kit right here, right? When I open this, it holds both of my pump parts, and then it nicely has compartments for my power cord, my flanges, my bits and pieces. So I can just actually, any kind of bag is great for pumping him back at work, but I love something that zips and something that has a handle. And then we need, like I said, something to store all the breast milk in that you're pumping. I tell you now, I would always go to work and I would forget to bring breast milk storage bags or like a cooler to put my breast milk in. So I would pump all this breast milk. I'm like, oh my God, where am I going to put it? So you want to have like your portable breast milk cooler to store all your milk in all day to bring home. And then for you, mama, you want stuff for you. I want you to have a good water bottle. that's easy to drink from. You've got to be hydrated when you're pumping back at work. Lots of snacks for you. You've got to take care of yourself nutritionally, and it's hard to stop in a work day to like pee and eat lunch, let alone pump. So when you stop to pump, I want you to be able to set yourself up that while you're pumping, you can drink water, eat snacks, look at videos of your baby happy at home, laughing. So, how can you do this? You need a good bra. That's not on my list. I'll add it after this, but you need a good pumping bra. Okay. So, this is delightful. I do always use the Mom Cozy bras because they're like super soft and buttery. And so, you can use bras that pull down for nursing. You can get pumping bras where it will actually, if you're using a pump that hangs like this and it's going to be hanging from your nipple, I want you to slide that into a pumping bra so that your hands are free. Okay. Versus if you are using, oh, I just unclipped it here. If I'm using my hands free pump and I'm wearing just a pumping bra or any nursing bra from Mom Cozy, I can actually just take out my hands-free pump here. I'm just gonna put this bad boy right into my bra. Okay, I have one on each side. And then you're gonna wanna make these straps nice and supportive from the back and from the top, because if you don't have it on right and nice and snug and supported onto that breast and firm, it can impact your suction. So you're gonna play around with it. They have a bit of a learning curve, but you're gonna get really good at using your hands-free pumps if you're on the go. You might be using formula, you might be needing a car seat or a stroller if you're doing a nanny share. So start to like make your own list. But I think having a list for baby and a list for you is helpful. Hang it on the fridge so every morning before you leave, you can cross check it so that you don't show up somewhere and feel like you're missing something. And then that's added stress. I love a practice day. And I feel like that goes well with my lists on the fridge because I'm like, I want to make sure I have all my stuff. Because it's just, there's a lot happening, right? And so, if possible, if you can have a practice day before your actual return to work as like a test run, that's really helpful for stress, for anxiety, and to troubleshoot any issues that you run into. So maybe it looks like if you have a nanny, you can have them come over one day and spend the day with you just to feel out the vibe and meet you and the baby, see your schedule. Then maybe you leave for a very short period of time so the nanny can practice being with the baby. Then maybe you actually have like a chunk, like a full half day or a full day that you leave and just practice being away, practice pumping somewhere else, storing the milk, bringing it home. If you're doing daycare, sometimes daycares will let you pop in for like an hour or two as a practice day. So, whatever you can do to just practice leading up to going back to work does help for my moms. Just they tell me, they're like, it really did just make me feel a little less anxious on the big day back. Um, and they would also say if you have control over when you can return to work, pick a Wednesday or a Thursday instead of a Monday, right? Because then the week's a little shorter. You can practice, break the ice, and then all of a sudden the weekend's here and you're reunited with your baby and you're back into your routine again. And then you can go back again on Monday. So, just some things to think about. Okay, I promised some out of the box content, and I want to do that with you. Part of what I love about naps is I try to find places to talk about the things that we're not talking about enough in prenatal education and postpartum support that are just so important. And when you return to work, a really big thing that's going to be very important for you and your partner and your family are setting healthy boundaries with your workplace, your managers, employees, your colleagues, with your caregivers, nannies, daycares, right? With your partner, who's doing what? Pickups and drop offs and packing diaper bags and lunches, with your family and friends. And so we are going to start to think about boundaries. And what are boundaries really, right? Like they feel hard for a lot of people, right? They feel hard because people feel like they're just saying no to people all the time. But boundaries for me are brave choices to make you feel comfortable and safe, during a time in your life of really big change, like going back to work. It's a way that you can self advocate and take care of yourself and have self care and self compassion. For me, self care is not a bath bomb and a glass of wine. Trust me, I love a glass of wine and I love a bath bomb. But what do I think is true self care for my working parent? It's finding ways to protect yourself and put boundaries in place. They are a way to make relationships feel steady and supportive. You may feel like you're saying no to someone, but you're actually saying no to someone or something because you're saying yes to yourself to meet your own emotional, physical, and mental well being. Okay. And I always say they're the choice between short term discomfort and long term discomfort. So, what's a good example of this? Maybe you're afraid to tell your boss that you need to pump 3 times in your workday when you come back from work because your workplace hasn't made you feel like it's a safe, supportive place that you can pump. But you do need to pump 3 times during your workday as a breastfeeding mom if you're breastfeeding at home those 3 times because you need to move milk, you need to feed your baby, and I don't want you to get an infection, right? So, short term discomfort is having the conversation with your manager of like, I need you to understand that I'm going to need to pump when I'm back at work, and you're going to see on my schedule 3 blocks where I'm going to stop to pump. Long term discomfort is not having that conversation. And now you have nowhere to pump in your workday, or you're pumping in the bathroom once a day because you haven't blocked it or told anyone. And now you're literally uncomfortable, like quite literally, like physically, right? So I would phrase it and think about it as well. They can be uncomfortable because you're having a difficult conversation sometimes. It is the choice between short-term discomfort versus long-term. They're hard to do because you're setting like boundaries that require redefining some relationships. Ask yourself now, like things as you think about going back to work that like used to work for you before you had a baby that aren't going to work now that you have a baby. And so I don't want you to view them as a betrayal of family or friends or your partner or work. Um, Rather, not thinking about boundaries and putting protections in place now for yourselves is just sort of a betrayal of yourself. And I don't want you to betray yourself to please others. We're constantly giving, 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 and burning the candle at both ends. So as we prepare to go back to work, I want you to do some professional preparation. Okay. So maybe you're about to give birth and you're still working and you haven't gone out on leave yet. Maybe you're here and you're on maternity or paternity leave, or maybe you just went back and you're back at work. Ask yourself what is working well and what isn't working well for you at work right now. Okay. How can you preserve what works? And for what's not working or what's feeling hard, how can we set some boundaries so it doesn't feel so hard? And in doing so, and in having these conversations with family, friends, your partner, your workplace, and you're trying to change something or redefine something, I would ask yourself, what are your non negotiables and where can you be flexible? Because your non negotiables are usually far fewer than you realize, and where you're able to be flexible is often a lot of places, right? So perhaps it's with daycare drop off and pickup. So like your non-negotiable is that you have to leave work by 5 to pick up your baby because daycare closes. Like literally, they close. You have to be there at 5. So you're going to go to your boss and say, it's a non-negotiable for me when I come back that I have to leave the building by 4:45 or 5 o'clock to make daycare pickup. But where I'm willing to be flexible is I can arrive 30 minutes earlier in the morning than I usually do, or I can log back in for a half an hour at night in the evening after my baby goes to bed to just make sure I didn't miss out on something that was pressing or urgent. So like where can you show up? Where can you negotiate a little bit? You can set up email auto responses. If people require instant gratification in your workspace and you used to just reply to them because you didn't have a baby and you could, or you would work in the evening at home because you could, or you would stay late. Like, you may need to put up some boundaries, and sometimes people want instant gratification. So, can you set up a response? Thanks for your email. I'll get back to you by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Okay. We're always apologizing, especially as working women. Sorry for the delay. Sorry for the delay. Change those to thank you for your patience, right? Because you haven't done anything wrong and you're getting back to people now. You're a working parent, right? You're taking care of a baby, you're breastfeeding, you're pumping, you're bottle feeding, you're packing daycare bags, you're dropping a kid off, you're getting home. When you get home from work, you have dinner, bath, and bedtime. It's a sprint, okay? And if you need help making a pumping schedule when you're back at work, let us know. Let's figure out how and when you can pump that's reasonable. It's going to look different for all of you, right? Like I work with a lot of doctors and practitioners or lawyers, and they're in these jobs where like I can't stop 3 times in my day. I can only stop twice. I'm like, all right, great. Let's figure out where you're going to stop and when and what that's going to look like. When it comes to finding balance, and I've started alluding to this, is like it's a major identity shift when you become a parent, especially as a working parent. And you might be returning to the same job, and that same job is going to feel different in so many new ways. And that's okay. But you can't be 100% to everyone all the time. Okay? You just can't. It's not mathematically possible to be 100% to your job, your partner, your baby, your friends, your family, yourself, like your workout classes and your self care. And it's very hard to recharge as a new parent, especially with a newborn. Many people return to work at 12 weeks. Babies don't always sleep through the night until 4 to 6 months of age. It's very normal for a baby to be breastfeeding in the middle of the night and you're back at work. So you have fragmented sleep. So think of yourself as an iPhone, okay? When you go to bed at night, you plug in your iPhone. And when you wake up in the morning, if you haven't been unplugged at night, you're 100%. My postpartum mom was probably unplugged at 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., or my parent, right? My dad or my parent. So when you wake up in the morning, you might even be running on not even 100%. You're running on 60%. And the solution isn't power through, it's actually to rest, find ways that you can recharge with some self care, and decide each day what is calling your attention. Because you can't be 100% to everyone, like I said. You need to look at that day and who is calling your attention? Where is the battery going? If you have a sick kiddo, it's going to your kid that day. Less batteries going to work. If you're having a great week at work and maybe you're crushing it, a lot of battery went to work. So maybe on the weekend, you're like, I'm going to allocate some battery to my partner. Okay, just a couple little things to think about. So what's next for you here? Because I want to jump out. We want to do our giveaway. We want to look at your questions. I want to give you more resources. I would love to hear from you all. I would love to work with you. Scan this QR code. It's going to take you to our membership page. You're going to see on our website a lactation page. Throw your name and your insurance into our lactation section, because a lot of you might be in our network and we can do some free through your insurance pumping and going back to work consults, sizing flanges, prenatal consults, feeding plans. But I did want to offer all of you, for being here live, a gift from NAPS, which is our membership. Our monthly membership is usually $149 a month. I'd love for you all to have it 30 days for $30. So please scan that QR code, join the monthly membership, and when you check out, you can put the code in 30 for 30. And that's going to unlock the membership for the month for $30 so that you can join a new mom support group or a working mom support group. You can come to our next webinar. You can use the Ask a Nurse board. And if you have a question today that you put in the Q&A or the chat, copy and paste it and put it right onto the Ask a Nurse board, and I will answer you today. We answer all of the questions on that board within 24 hours. So I'd love for you all to have access to that. You'll be receiving the recording after this. And I referenced this before. Scan this QR code here and just check if you're covered. You might be in network with NAPS, and if you're not, we have super bills, but there's probably a way that we can unlock some free feeding support or reimbursed support for you about all of the things that we talked about today, whether you're breastfeeding, pumping, or going back to work. So check that out as well. And then we want to get to some questions and our giveaway. So Sonia, how about I do a couple questions from the chat and then we'll come back and do our giveaway? How does
Sounds
that
good.
sound?
Sounds good. There's so many good questions in the
I
chat.
know there's going to be so many questions, which is why I want you all to seriously use that code and come onto our Ask a Nurse board. You can post any question anytime and I'll answer it, or a team member will answer it within 24 hours. But let's do a couple quick questions now and then we'll do our giveaway. And we might go a couple minutes over, so hang with us if you don't mind. Okay. Um, oh, holy moly. You guys, you're doing such a great job with all of these questions. And I love the nice things that you're saying. You all make me feel so good. Thank you. Okay. Here's a question from Dana. If you give up a feed to your partner at night, do I still need to wake up and pump to maintain supply? I love this question.
Good question.
Gonna get personal. Okay. So, yes, in theory, if you give up a breastfeeding session, you would pump to replace that session for supply and demand. However, we're going to weigh risk benefit. Dana, you might say, if I'm having my partner give a bottle of pumped breast milk at 1 a.m., I'm not going to get up and pump. It'd be easier to just get up and breastfeed, right? So you may say to yourself tonight, I'm making a conscious choice. I'm weighing risk benefit here that I'm actually going to have my partner do the feed at 1 a.m. and I'm going to sleep. Is there risk to your supply? I'm going to argue risk is very low to skip one feed so that your partner can give a bottle so that you can sleep. And I'm going to argue and really look at the benefit of that. Actually, the benefit of you sleeping, quite frankly, probably outweighs that really minimal risk, because it's good for you to sleep. Like, you need to sleep. It's good for your mental health, and you synthesize prolactin when you're sleeping, so that also might help out with your breast milk supply. Okay. Let's see. Just a lot of really nice compliments. Thank you. Okay, here's another question from Sarah. Throughout the day, can I throw my hands-free pump in the fridge and wash just once at the end of the day when I'm home? Or do I need to wash my pump parts every time I pump? Great question. So, if I have a healthy full-term baby and it's just breast milk that we're using here that's touching things and entering my storage containers or my pump parts, Sarah, yes, I actually do what I call a fridge hack. I take the pumping supplies that have only touched breast milk, and instead of washing them and cleaning them between, I take the parts, whatever they may be, my Mom Cozy ones or my fully like pump parts that are assembled. I drop them in a clean Ziploc bag. I put them in the fridge. And when I come back to pump, it's already assembled and I'm ready to go. Yes, it's going to be cold and you're going to see condensation of breast milk, but it's just breast milk. And we know that breast milk is good in the fridge for 4 days. So to go in and out throughout the day as a pumping mom is probably going to save you some time here. And then at the end of the day and the night, you can break it all down, wash it, steam it, clean it, dishwash it, whatever you want. Can I do one more, Sonia, or do you want to do the giveaway?
Let's do one more.
Let's do one more. I'm going to grab this one because someone's asking about elastic nipples. Like what to do if you have elastic nipples and how you get properly sized. So when I talked about sizing and I used that tool, so what you're doing is you're sizing your nipple and you're seeing that base of the nipple and your nipple coming through this hole. Some women have elastic nipples, which means when you pump, the base of your nipple is very stretchy, and that elastic tissue, that base of the nipple, really stretches and pulls into the tubing. So it gets confusing because women are like, is that areola or is that my nipple like stretching? And elastic nipples, Kimberly, I'm sure you can agree, they're very sensitive. It can cause like pain, friction, swelling as you're describing. So what do I do with my women who have elastic nipples? I get real creative on my pump parts. So I love that Mom Cozy has cushions. Step one for elastic nipples is I want to make sure you're using the right size flange. Step two, I want to get you a cushion because it's soft and supportive of the base of the stretchy nipple. And we're going to put that cushion in to your pump part, whatever pump you're using to provide soft support. Step three, I'm going to put some lanolin cream in there to lubricate that channel to see if that helps. If you're still struggling with that, there are certain other products that are ice cream cone shaped that we can use so that when you pump, your nipple never pulls or rubs into any channel. It's in an open space and device, so you can reach out to us for that type of specific support. All right, amazing questions. Let's do our giveaway.
Great questions. Great call. Thank you so much, Emily. I actually I took away a lot of tips as well.
Good, I'm glad. You learn something new every
Yeah,
time you come.
the boundaries conversation was exactly for me. I promise. Okay, so it's giveaway time. I will be selecting three names randomly. If you hear your name, just type here in the chat and we'll go from there. The instructions are on the screen, mcp@momcozy.com. You'll send your name, address, and phone number. Okay, so the first name is Katrina Sweet. Katrina, are you here? If you're here, say here in the chat.
While we're pulling names, if you also want to just take note of this QR
Here.
code for a survey and tell us how we did today so that we can keep bringing you amazing free education.
Yes, please, please, please take a moment and scan that QR code. The next name is Kimberly Navarre. Kimberly, are you still here? If you're here, say here in the chat. You're here. Woohoo! Yes, I love the excitement. I love it. And the last name, the final person is Courtney Wright. Courtney, are you here? You're here. Okay, okay. So we congratulations to all of our giveaway winners. Please join us next week for infant sleep and feeding. This is going to be the final call. Oh my goodness.
I know.
August flew by. But yes, please join us next week. Thank you for staying a couple minutes late. We really enjoyed this and have a great weekend.
Happy weekend, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Take care.